So he's had his annual physical. It happened last year in February and this year again in February. And he apparently is fine, super robust. His gait is a little stiff, but no worse than last year. And when asked the money question, which is, what about the cognitive test? Yeah. Here's what Karine Jean-Pierre said, SOT 4.
Did the president take a mental fitness or a cognitive test during his physical this morning?
You know, the president doesn't need a cognitive test. That is not my assessment. That is the assessment of the president's doctor. That is also the assessment of the neurologist, who has also made that assessment as well. And I'll reiterate this. The president's doctor has said, if you look at what this president, he passes a cognitive test every day, as he moves from one topic to another topic, understanding the granular level of these topics.
Wow.
He changes topics. It's
Wow.
amazing.
He changes
This guy.
He changes quotes, even as he's trying to read them.
Yeah,
In
that's
the big
amazing.
type that is
By Abe Lincoln.
staff circled about Abe Lincoln. Yeah.
It doesn't cost anything to take a cognitive test. Just prove it then.
Yeah, then
Okay,
why
it's
not?
fine.
Do it.
He's doing all the other stuff. Well, he says he doesn't need one.
Can't you tell, like, when you watch her, you can tell she's nervous, right? Like, she gets all, like, shaky. The eyelids with all the sparkly shadows start to flutter a little bit more. Like, she's like, oh, shit, we're on my weakest issue.
The president.
Talking.
Right, the president.
The
president.
Talking about the president is
Well,
my weakest issue.
then the press corps, to its credit, because, you know, even the Democrats are not sure they want Biden now, so they're a little bit aggressive on the health now. Nothing like what they should be. But, you know, it's rare to see a little aggression by them. They're like, give us access to the doctor. Put him out here, which is not unheard of. And here's how she handled that.
Why is the president or your office not willing to make Dr. O'Connor available to us? Why not?
So a couple of things, Andrew, and the president said that they thought he was too young. So, you know, we will certainly make this robust, comprehensive memo, as we have done the last 2 years, available to all of you. The doctor coming to the briefing room, it is not a norm. We're trying to get back to the norm.
I'll bet.
I want Trump's doctor out there, man.
I loved him.
Just rocking that haircut.
Yeah, that
like,
Dr.
perfect in every way.
Bots or whatever his name
This
was.
is like, it's easy to laugh at, but it really is infuriating.
Yeah.
He needs a cognitive test. It's only the United States of America. It's the most important country in the world. We deserve to know whether this guy can pass a cognitive test. It's pretty basic. We're so forgiving. We allow the 81-year-old man with all these problems to stay in the office, at least right now. Nobody's 25th Amendment did him. I verbed it. The least he can do is actually have a professional tell us whether he's okay upstairs.
Do you want to know why they don't take the test besides the obvious one, which is that it'd be embarrassing, but it's specifically embarrassing. I sat with my father taking the neurological exam, doing the 5 words thing, and it was eye-opening. I've watched my father's sort of memory and especially short-term memory and various things decline over the past 5 years. And I'm not talking out of school, and he's a sweet man. Just turned 85. So he is, he's younger than Biden will be if he wins re-election and serves it out to term. And they ask you a bunch of questions, including like, what year is it? Right? Imagine getting that question wrong. My father happened to say, hey, it's April 1982.
Yeah. Recently. This is recently. Okay.
And that's eye-opening because when you're hanging out with your dad and like talking about the Angels or whatever, you don't necessarily get that level of, oh gosh, that's a big one. Like 1982 is a lot different than 2024 or 2023 in that case. There would be something like that. I mean, look at the report that came out that they were really pissed off about the decision not to prosecute Biden. Go into the granular details of why and what were the ways that he was bringing up his son's death and getting facts and years and times wrong. We've seen him do this for a long time.
Constantly.
The cognitive test will absolutely isolate that, and there will be a specific question about a date or a time or a place, and in theory, and I would suspect it probably would happen, he will give a crazy wrong answer, and that will show people immediately like, game's over.
It'll be the
so
end
they're
of his
not going to do it.
presidency.
They'll never do it.
And you know, it's funny, you said that about Beau Biden. And it's really interesting because the number of times he said that he died in Iraq, and people have said, well, you know, burn pits and maybe like a second order death or something. And he never says that. He says he died in Iraq. And why would you ever say something like that when it's so transparently not true? You're the president. There's a press corps out there to fact check you, and it's easily checkable. I mean, everyone knows that this is wrong.
And it gets checked.
You do that because you don't know. Maybe that is how you've internalized it. Maybe that's what it's become in your brain. And look, if you're out there in front of the assembled press, as Karine Jean-Pierre is in this clip, and someone's asking about something, as you're supposed to do as a journalist, what is going on with, what is America doing with Julian Assange? Is he going to be extradited, et cetera? They're going to give you the runaround, and they're supposed to give you the runaround. These are secrets. These are things we haven't decided, et cetera. As a democratic nation, and you have, in an almost North Korean way, a woman putting herself between the press, the free press in America, and the president, if whether or not he is cognitively capable of doing the job should be offensive to every American.
Yeah.
It should be offensive to every single American. It's not a partisan thing. I feel bad for the guy. I truly do. I feel bad seeing an old guy who seems like he's confused. And more than anything, I am offended by all the people that are plumping for him and saying everything's fine. He's faster than me.
I feel bad for us.
No, I do feel bad for us,
I'm done
too,
feeling bad for him. I feel bad for us.
Yeah.
He and I am angry at Dr. Jill, too. I would never let this happen to my husband, and my husband would never let this happen to me. If I start to lose it on this show, eventually Doug will give me the tap on the shoulder and say, honey, Provence it is. Let's go.
Start.
Yeah, stars are he did air
He's been doing
quotes.
so many taps recently. He's like, we gotta go. Let's cut this off.
This is absurd for her to allow this. I mean, it really feels cruel, but it's mostly cruel to us because we actually have a lot of important things that Americans need help with or need the government to get out of. We need somebody sane to run the country, and we're not looking at it right now. However, he's apparently a very strong man. Just ask Howard Dean. Watch.
Haley's hope has to be that she can present herself well as an alternative to Trump so that the convention can accept her should either Trump have a health problem, which he's certainly just as likely as Biden to have, if not more. I mean, I'll bet you anything that Joe Biden could beat the daylights out of Trump in a push-up contest, for example. And Trump knows it too, although if it was a cheeseburger eating contest, it might turn out differently.
Okay. He's looking pretty good, Howard. Howard, you should.
Should we play that? Should we play that
he
clip?
was using.
I don't even know what to
The
say.
Howard clip? Like, maybe we need to see it again.
The scream?
Yeah, the scream.
Oh,
We
let's get the
kind of need to see it, don't we? Let's
That was
see
a
it.
more innocent time.
Yeah. Do we have the screen clip?
Of
course.
Oregon and Washington and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House.
Can you believe that ended a presidential career?
Yes, I can.
And yet,
Yes, that was the worst scream I've ever heard. It went up like 9 octaves, too.
It's disqualifying.
I mean, do you remember when, making up stuff about your family and your personal academic career serially and plagiarizing another politician's life story was enough to end a presidential campaign? I remember that, too. Those are good times.
That's right.
Again, the American self-degradation just keeps going. The two people that we're choosing from have degraded themselves so badly so many times over the years. We're just like, I mean, that's why Dr. Jill is allowing this to happen, presumably, because she has told herself, like so many Democrats have told themselves, okay, sure, he might be in very obvious cognitive decline, and we're like trying to teach him how to walk so he doesn't trip every time. But, he's the only one who could beat Trump, so we got to keep him out there. It's, our sense of what the country needs and needs to protect itself from means that he has to be publicly humiliated because we don't have another. That's how people justify it. And the people voting for Trump against Biden or against Democrats are kind of doing the same thing. Like, yeah, sure, he's done all of these things, and he keeps doing them, and he will keep doing them. But that's still better than the elite swamp out there.
So don't you think the game with Biden is these Democrats are like, we just have to get to November 6th. That's it. Well, technically January 21st. We just have to get there. And then as soon as he's in, like, we don't love Kamala, but at least we'll have a Democrat as president who we control. Like, we just get him over the finish line. He doesn't have to make it another 4 years. He just have to make it past inauguration so that we deny it to the evil orange man.
It's not so long ago that Joe Biden and his team were making the formal decision to run for office again. And at that time, we all had pretty much the same body of evidence with respect to his obvious cognitive decline that we do now. And they made the choice to push forward. And it's hard for me to believe that Biden was like meaningfully involved in that and making a conscious decision just because he doesn't really seem capable of it most of the time. There are moments in there where it seems like he's just slept well enough and is just medicated enough to actually perform in a moment. But it is a constant, steady diet of these clips of the man just seem completely out of his depth in various contexts. And everyone was aware of it. And I would have expected folks like AOC from the Squad, for example, to draw a line in the sand early on and say, we need someone else to run here. But they chose politics.
But, in a way, it shows you their power in the media versus their actual power within the Democratic Party, which is a lot smaller than they would like it to be. But, with Biden, I mean, it's funny that we talked about this the other day. The argument is essentially the argument that Democrats made about John Fetterman.
Yeah.
It was like, there was somebody, and it might have been on MSNBC, but somebody significant said, the senator's not doing it anyway. It's his staff.
Yeah.
That's literally an argument that was made. It's his staff. Don't worry. It can be anyone. We can put like a paper doll up there, provided the people behind him are good. Mm-hmm. And that is essentially the argument now. And that's the one that they're running with. It's no longer plausible. Like when you see Mike Barnacle.
It's like we're all out of humans in the United States.
Yeah. I just outside. There's so many. And they're all better than the two options we have now. Literally all of them.
What did Mike Barnacle do?
Well, no, he said the other day.
MSNBC guy.
What you do all the time is when somebody is so clearly not in the right sort of mental shape, is that you go so hard in the other direction. Mm-hmm. So Mike Barnacle was on the other, he says, a 45-year-old could not do what he does.
Yeah. You should see
and that is experience. And you see this constantly on TV. These people, and again...
Green jump here. She says, I can't keep up with him.
I can't keep up with him.
In all these meetings that we are not running cameras on.
Yeah,
right.
Never seen any of them.
Well, did you see the leak last week about his sex life?
No.
Yeah.
I saw that.
No, I don't know if I want to.
Yes. Yeah, we talked about it last week. There's a new book out that documents how he says they have sex all the time.
These are lies.
These are lies.
These are obvious
Camille,
lies.
but he thinks it's true. It's fine.
With cyber attacks on the rise, protecting your data security is more important than ever. So why is Congress considering a bill that could put your credit card data at greater risk of being hacked and exposed to foreign networks? Our advertiser, the Electronic Payments Coalition, says the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill shifts billions in consumer spending to less secure payment networks, all so that corporate megastores can make bigger profits. Find out more about the issue at electronicpaymentscoalition.org and decide for yourself if you would like to tell your senators to oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.